Yes, sir. Good evening, everyone. I'm audible to you. Yes. Good evening, everyone. Okay, we'll start the session. So, in our last session, which was on Saturday, we have discussed about DNS. Yes. So, in that we discussed DNS is a database resolution service which is used to resolve, convert, map, or change name into IP. So, why we are doing this? Because it is easier to remember the name instead of IP address. So, in our private network, one DNS is enough. The purpose and work is same, but in the public network where we have millions of websites, can you have one web server? Sorry, can you have one DNS server to store the millions of website? No. So they have made it into the setup, 13 setup. That is called root server. Root server, in each root server, there will be thousands of DNS server. So root server contain the information of top level domain server. Like we discussed, dot here, dot indicate root server, then top level domain like .com, .org, .edu, yes, then the name, second level domain. So this is how in the real time, the resolution will take place. This is how the resolution will take place. Just a minute, I'm getting a call, 1 minute. Sorry, there was a call from the office. Okay, so let's now discuss about this. So how the websites will be accessed? First, our request will go to the our local service provider, internet local ISP service provider. From there, it will go to the root server. From the root server, it will take the IP address of the second level. From the top level first. From the top level, it take the IP address from the second level domain. So this is how the resolution will take place. Next time, same thing will not happen. From the cache memory, it will access. So these DNS servers are, as we have discussed, categorized into two types: authorized, non-authorized. Authorized means if it is knows, it gives the IP. If it does not know, it says, I don't know. So here, these are the authorized root server, TLD. Second, these are the authorized DNS server. This is unauthorized. So it does not know the IP address which the client is looking for. But still, what it will do, it will try to resolve the client request by forwarding to the other DNS server. That is called unauthorized. So we have discussed all this theory. Just I'm once again revising it because yesterday we had a off. So just I'm revising it. So if any DNS server you want to configure, authorized or non-authorized, you have to create what? Lookup zones. DNS server will be configured by creating two lookup zones, forward and reverse. Forward lookup zone will resolve name into IP. Forward lookup zone will resolve name into IP, whereas the reverse lookup zone will resolve IP into name. So this resolution is done with the help of what? Forward lookup zones and reverse lookup zones. So I said you might have remembered, or you can go through the recording of Saturday session. So SO record and NS record will be present both in forward and reverse. It is created default by the OS. But as admin, host record is the most important record which need to be created by the administrator. So host record and alias record. Alias record is used to hide the original system name by using the alias name www. Host record or address record is used to resolve the name into IP. So these two records as the admin we have to create in forward lookup zones. And two records, SO and NS, will be created default. Then in the reverse lookup zone, the most important record is pointer. So in the reverse lookup zone, we need to create only one record. SO and NS will be there. Pointer record is the most important record, which will resolve IP into name. Then MX record is required to be created in forward lookup zone if you are using your mail server. For that, Exchange server is required. So that is a separate course, separate topic. So we are not going to discuss. If suppose your company is using your private mail server, MX record has to be created in forward lookup zone. If the company is not using mail server, no need of that record. SRV records, I told you, service records are created default, which will help the client in locating the DNS service. Which will help the client in locating not only DNS service, any service. So SRV records are created default in the forward lookup zone when we configure the domain controller. So this is what we have discussed in Saturday session. Now, I told you today we have to do only practicals. So about 6 practicals we have to do. So our first practical will be standard primary. So standard primary means our master DNS server. So in simple word, standard, our first DNS server which we need to configure today is called as standard primary. Standard primary means it is nothing but master DNS server. So today we'll be creating the standard primary, that is master DNS server, in one of the machines. So that you can do either in the DC machine or member server. So normally we will do it on the DC machine. So we'll first create the standard primary. So I'm writing the simple name, which you can remember easily. So standard primary is nothing but it is our master DNS server. So today we have to configure 6 different types of DNS servers, all practicals today. So our first practical will be how to configure the standard primary. That is nothing but, you can say in simple word, master DNS server. So when we configure this master DNS server, we need to create the lookup zones. So how many lookup zones I need to create? 2 lookup zones. One is called forward lookup zone and another one is called reverse lookup zone. So when we create the forward and reverse lookup zones, we need to create forward lookup zone records as well as reverse lookup zone records. So the records in the master DNS server or standard primary contain read-write option. So in standard primary, when we create the forward and reverse lookup zones with record, so these records will be having read-write permission. So this record we can able to edit. These records we are able to edit because it will have read-write option. So this is our first DNS server today. Our second DNS server will be called as standard secondary. So this standard primary we have to configure this master DNS server. We will be configuring in system 1. Then standard secondary means you can understand this in a simple way as a backup DNS server. So standard secondary is nothing but backup DNS server, or you can call slave DNS server. This has to be configured in system 2, the master DNS server. So as we have discussed, all the important server backup we need to maintain. On Friday session, we have discussed the DSCP. DSCP is a very important server. So if you are maintaining only one DSCP server is enough to assign the IP. But if you are dependent only on one machine, one particular day, not every day, one particular day, suppose the main DSCP server get failed, then what happens? The entire network will be down. All the machines will be working, but they will be not able to get the IP. So they can able to communicate from one user to another. No. So the entire network will be down. So to avoid this type of problem, what we done? We have to maintain the backup of DSCP. All the important server backup we need to maintain. So if you have configured the backup DSCP server, which is called technically failover. So we discuss on Friday how to configure the DSCP failover. So whatever we have created whatever we have created in the main DSCP server scope and reservation, that will come to the automatically. Once we configure the failover, it will come to that. So if the master get failed, the failover will provide the same service as the master used to provide. So if the master get failed also, the network will not collapse. The network will not get any down. There will be no downtime problem. So that's why all the important servers in the real time will be maintained as a backup. So DNS is also backup. Sorry, DNS is also very important server. So if DNS is not there, domain users cannot log in because you are joining the machine to the domain. And the domain, if DNS is not there, the users cannot able to access the different services by name. So DNS will help the client in accessing the servers by name. So the network will be having huge problem. So if the main DSCP server, that is master DNS server, get failed, then also if you don't want any problem, any trouble in the network, then we need to also maintain the backup of DNS, which is called standard secondary. Like for the DSCP, which is called failover. So same way, standard secondary is called backup DNS server, which has to be configured in system 2. So how to configure? I'll show you. So this will be our first 2 practicals. So first practical should be done in system 1, second practical should be done in system 2. So here, we don't have to create the records. So in the DNS server, important thing is record. Like in the DSCP server, important thing was scope. Here the records are important. So the records we don't have to create in backup server. So the record has to be replicated from the master. How to do that? I'll show you. So here the records will have only read option. So here the record will have read option. So can we edit it? No. In master, we can edit the records. But in failover or the slave DNS server or standard secondary, that is backup DNS server, records will have only read option. So here records will have read option. Here read write means we can able to edit. So this is about your 2 DNS server. After that, we will be configuring the stub zone. That is another type of DNS server. After that, ActiveDirect integrated primary zone, which will create the service record. After that, forwarders and conditional forward. So these are the practicals we'll be doing. So shall we start with the first practical? Shall I start with the first practical? How to create the standard primary Standard primary means master DNS server. After that, we will do the standard secondary, that is backup DNS server. Then we can have a break. After the break, we'll continue with what? Stub zone, another type of DNS server. Then active integrated primary zone, another DNS server, which will create the service records. Then after that, last two practicals will be forwarders and conditional forwarder DNS server. So please tell me, shall we start the practical? First practical, standard primary means master DNS server, which has to be done in any machine. We will do it on the DC. So for that, we need to create how many lookup zones? Two lookup zones, forward and reverse. So the DNS server consists of lookup zones. Inside the lookup zones, we need to create what? Records, both in the forward lookup and the reverse lookup. Okay. So I hope it is clear to you. I have repeated whatever it need to be repeated. So if it is all of you are okay, means we'll start the practical. So can I start the practical? Yes. Okay, fine. So let's start with the practical. So first practical is standard primary. That is nothing but master DNS server. Please remember. So for that, we require two machines. So as usual, you go to your VMware, switch on your DC as well as member server. So this is our DC. And this is our member server. So you can configure the master DNS on any machine, either DC or member server, but we will do it on the DC. And the backup DNS server, that is standard secondary, will configure in member server. Okay. So while the machine get on, we will see the practical steps. So today we are doing first practical, standard primary. So here we have to first we are doing this practical in DC. So when we configure the DC, already DNS will be installed. So we don't have to again install the DNS. If you are doing this practical master DNS server in member server, you have to install the DSCP. We have to install the DNS. So I apologize. By mistake I said DSCP, but we are doing today discussing which practical? DNS. So you can do this practical either on DC or member server. So if you do it on the DC machine, no need to install the DNS, because as we have seen, when we configure the domain controller, DNS service already got installed. So if you are doing this practical in member server, you can just install the DNS. How to install? Open the server manager console, click on add roles and features, click on next 3 times, check the box DNS, add feature, next, install, like we have done in the DSCP server. Same DNS got installed. So once you install the DNS, go to the tools, open the DNS service. So here we have to create forward lookup and reverse lookup. So first create the forward lookup for standard primary means master DNS. For that, go to the tools, open your DNS service, then go to your system name. There, once you expand, you will find forward lookup zone. To create the forward lookup zone, right click, new zone, select the primary. Primary means standard primary. Uncheck the last box. So give some DNS name. DNS name means I told you on Saturday, a name with extension is called DNS name or domain name. Then say next, allow both, next, finish. So now standard primary forward lookup zone is created. Now we need to create the records. So two records are default created, SO and NS. So the most important record is the address record. We need to create the address record, which will convert the name into IP, and alias record, which will resolve or hide the system name by using www. So this is about your standard primary. Same way we have to create the standard primary forward lookup zone we have created. Same way we have to create standard primary reverse lookup zone, which will resolve IP into name. Here we have to create the PTR record. SO and NS will be there. So now how do you check the output? NS lookup. If you give the name, it will show the IP. If you give the IP, it will show the name. So it means your DNS is configured properly. That is your first practical. After that, second practical will be standard secondary, means backup DNS server. Okay, let me start now. So I'm doing this practical in the DC machine. So already my DNS is installed. So no need to install the DNS server in the DC machine. So you can straight away start creating the forward lookup and reverse lookup. So this is my DC. How can I know it? Go to the command prompt, type it netspace accounts. So when it is a DC, when it is DC, so it is a DC. So a DC means already DNS is installed. So you can straight away start creating the forward lookup and reverse lookup zone in DC machine. So now already you can see DNS is installed. So no need to install again DNS in DC machine. Go to the tools, open the DNS service. Now create the standard primary forward lookup zone. So to create the forward lookup zone, first expand your system name. There you can find forward lookup zone. Now to create the forward lookup zone, select the forward lookup zone, right click, select the forward lookup zone, right click, new zone, right click, new zone, next. Select here, four options are there. Standard primary, standard secondary, stub zone. First and fourth option if you select, that will be the active-directory integrated primary zone. So our first option is to create primary. So only which option should be selected? Standard primary means master DNS. The last option you uncheck. So only for a standard primary or master DNS, only the first option should be selected. So just uncheck the last option. Otherwise, it will become fourth type of DNS, which is called Active Directory Integrated Primary Zone. Because this is primary zone and this is Active Directory. So it will become Active Directory Integrated Primary Zone, which will create service record. But first we need to create master DNS. So for that, you just select primary, standard primary, first option. Okay, just select the standard primary, that is master DNS. Don't don't select the fourth option. When you have to select the first and fourth option, that is in the fourth practical. For first practical, only first option should be selected. Uncheck the last box. So it is a standard primary, means master DNS server. Compulsory uncheck the last option, last box. Select only standard primary. Next. Here DNS name means name with any extension. Extension should be there. Extension can be any extension, .com, .co, .in, anything. DNS name, name with extension. Next. Next. Select here second option, allow both secure and non-secure. Finish. Forward lookup zone is created with this name, yahoo.com. So by default, it contains two records, S and S. So we need to create the most important record in forward lookup zone is host record or address record. So select the yahoo.com, right click on yahoo.com, go to the third option, new host. Now here what it will do, host record will convert the host name into IP address. So our host name is what? DNS name, yahoo.com. So this I'm configuring in which machine? System 1. What is my system 1 IP address? 10.1. So if you want to check here. So see here. Machine name is this one. And the IP address and preferred DNS should be same. Right click on network, properties, change adapter setting, LAN card, properties, IP version 4, properties. Here 10.1 IP address, 10.1 preferred DNS. IP address and preferred DNS should be saved. Okay. Okay. Now let us continue with the creation of the host record. Yes, so the NS record is there in forward lookup zone. So select the forward lookup zone, right click, new zone. Just now I have given what name, select the first option, uncheck the last option, yahoo.com. Here I given yahoo.com. I'm showing you one more time just how to create the standard primary forward lookup zone. Next. Select here, allow both secure and non-secure. Finish. So your yahoo.com is created with two records, but the most important record is alias and host record. So first create the host record, which is very, very important. So select the yahoo.com, right click, new host. So now here the host record will convert system name. So this we are doing in which machine? Sys1. Sys1 IP, just now we have checked. What is our DC machine IP? 10.1. So it will convert name, system name into system IP. So host record is created. Okay. Now create the alias record. Right click, select the yahoo.com, right click, go to the fourth option, new alias name, RC name. So what is the alias name we generally use to access the website? Starting name, www. So our domain name is yahoo.com. But how we will access this? www.yahoo.com. But my original system name is what? So this we are configuring in which machine? Sys1. So original name is Sys1. Host name means system name. My original system name is Sys1. But I'm hiding my original system name by using a alias record. So that is called CNAME, alias record. So this is the alias name for original name. What is the original name? sys1.yahoo.com. So now the people will access, this is the actual name, sys1.yahoo.com. But people will access with what? www.yahoo.com. So that dot will be added here. We don't have to write here. It is added here, but don't put the dot here. Just write sys1.yahoo.com. Your original name you can see here. Same name you write. So forward lookup zone is created. So it is a standard primary forward lookup zone. See here. If you want to see that, click on the forward lookup. So yahoo.com we have created just now. So it is a standard primary forward lookup zone. So to see its record, double click on this. So this is your standard primary. Yahoo.com is a standard primary forward lookup zone, which consists of 4 records. 2 records are created default, SO and NS. And we need to create 2 more records. That is host record and alias record. Now, same way we have to create the reverse lookup zone. So to create the reverse lookup zone below the yahoo.com, can you see reverse lookup zone? Yes, select it. Select, right click, new zone. So I repeat how to create a reverse lookup zone. Open the, open the DNS service. Then expand your system name. Select here reverse lookup zone. Select the reverse lookup zone, right click, new zone. Next. Now here you have to select standard primary only. Now because we are creating a standard primary reverse lookup zone. So select the first option, last option you uncheck. So I'm showing you twice. I select IP version here, network ID. So we are using 10.IP. So 10 dot will have how many network? Only one network. Remaining all hosts are 0. So 10 dot is a host. Okay. Now here we have to give network ID. Network ID means what? We have discussed in IP addressing. First we have to see the IP. Class 10 dot we are working. 10 dot means class A. Class A contain how many network? Only one network. So one number, 10 dot. Remaining all hosts are 0. Class A contain one network, 3 host. So network ID means last IP will be 0. So just a class A 10.1 network. Remaining host is 0. Reverse lookup zone we are creating for this network. Reverse lookup zone will convert IP into name. So you have to give the network ID. Next, select this option, allow both secure and non-secure. Next, finish. Reverse lookup zone is created. Now it contains 2 records by default, SON and S. Okay. Now here, reverse lookup zone also have 2 records. So in the reverse lookup zone in the theory, we have discussed Saturday. Today also I revised how many records we have to create. Only one. And which one is that? Reverse lookup zone. In the reverse lookup zone, which record we have to create? PTR. So I need to create only one record. Select, right click, pointer. What the pointer record will do? It will convert our IP. What is our IP? System 1 IP. DNS is configured in system 1. Convert the IP into name. What is the name? You can write sys1.yahoo.com or www.yahoo.com. Over. PTR record is created. So our forward lookup zone is created with 2 records, host and alias, and reverse lookup zone is created with 1 record, pointer. So these are the records which are having read write option. So you can just double click and modify. You can just double click and modify here. Whether it is a forward lookup zone record or reverse lookup zone. Because these records in master DNS, this is a standard primary. So you can see here, once you put the name here. So if I put here name, see yahoo.com is what? Standard primary. Okay. So now forward lookup zone is created, reverse lookup zone is created. Now we need to check the output. So how do you check it, the output? So you go to the command prompt, use this command, ns lookup. You have to use command ns lookup. First to check the forward lookup. So forward lookup will convert name into IP. So give the name. You give the name. So it should convert the name into IP. It should show the name into IP. So yes, it is able to show the name into IP. Yes. So either you use this name or this name. Both will be same. It will convert the name into IP. Yes, it is able to convert the name into IP. Yes. So forward lookup zone is working. Check the reverse lookup zone. NS lookup. Now give the IP address of this machine. We are in system 1, system 1 IP 10.1. So once you give the IP, it will convert that IP into name. So it is able to convert the name, IP into name. Yes. So your reverse lookup zone is also fine. Now how do you check the output? Go to the member server. Log in as the administrator there in member server. Now here you check the output. You are able to communicate with the name or not, you check. So without DNS also we can communicate with the server, but how? With the IP, without DNS. My DC is IP is what? My DC IP 10.1. My DC IP is 10.1. So I'm able to communicate without DNS also. But now since the DNS is configured, I can access that machine at that server with this domain name. For that we have created the DNS server. Now I can access with name instead of IP. Are you following? Are you following? So this is your standard primary forward lookup zone and reverse lookup zone. Okay. So now you are able to communicate with the name because of the DNS. So everyone understood the first practical. This is about your standard primary. If you understood, we'll do the in system to standard secondary, that is backup DNS server. Yes, please tell me, shall we proceed with the standard secondary, that is the backup DNS server? Okay, fine. So backup DNS server should be configured where? In system 2. So for that, what you have to do? Go to the system 2. Standard secondary means backup DNS server. Go to the in DC already we created Yahoo. So go to the system 2, IP, assign static IP, because this now you are making backup DNS server. IP address and preferred DNS should be same. Alternate DNS this. Install the DSCP. Sorry, install the DNS today in the second machine, that is system 2 member server. Now after that, create first standard secondary forward lookup zone. Then transfer the records. We should not create the record. We should transfer or replicate the record from the master to the backup DNS server or slave DNS server. Okay. So here create standard secondary forward lookup zone and standard secondary reverse lookup zone. Don't create the records. Record should be replicated. Record should be replicated from the master. Whatever record you have created in the master should come to the backup. Then only it is correct. Manually, we should not create it. Okay. Now I'll show you the standard secondary. So our master is already created. The master is already created. Go to the standard second machine. First here, check what is your system name. So my system name is system2 for backup DNS server. Now I assign the IP address, static IP. Because when we did the practical on Friday about the DHCP server, we removed the static IP. So we want to make this as a backup DHCP server, backup DNS server. So servers should have static IP. So right click on network properties, change adapter setting, select your LAN card properties, IP version 4. Use the following IP. Static IP you have to use. So 10.1 already there. So this I'm assigning 10.2. Then preferred DNS, IP address and preferred DNS should be same. And alternate DNS should be the first machine IP address. Preferred DNS is the master DNS server IP. Sorry, alternate DNS should be the master DNS IP address. Okay, so this is the setup you have to do as per the IP. IP address and preferred DNS should be same. Alternate DNS should be the master DNS IP. Okay. Now create the standard secondary. So create the standard secondary. Open the server manager console. Now we are in system2. First install the DNS. So is there any DNS is installed? No. So this yellow mark is for the DHCP, which we have configured on Friday, backup DHCP. So to install the DNS in the second machine system2, click on add roles and features. So click on next. Open the server manager console, click on add roles and features, click on next 3 times. Then check the box. So which service we want to install today? DNS. Check the box, add features, next, install. So you have to wait till it fully get installed. Okay, this service got finally installed. So here, just to close it. Now, did you find here DNS? Yes. Now check the yellow mark. Is there any incomplete task? related with the DNS? No. Unfinished task? No. It is for DSCP yellow mark, not for DNS. So just install it. Now create the standard secondary for lookup zone. Now create the standard secondary for lookup zone. So for that, go to the tools, then go to the DNS. Now here, expand the system name. Now we are creating first forward lookup zone. So which forward lookup zone? Standard secondary now. So expand the system name, go to the forward lookup zone, right click new, next. So here we have 4 types of DNS server. So first you go with the second option, because already we in system 1 we configured standard primary. Now we will need to configure standard secondary. Standard secondary means backup DNS server. Next, with same name, your master domain is our master DNS is configured with what name? Backup DNS or server also should be configured with same name. So in the master, the DNS name we have used is yahoo.com. Just DNS name means name with extension. Same name, master and backup name should be same. Now here, master is configured where that IP you have to give. So I configured the master in system 1, system 1 IP 10.1. After giving the IP address, click on validate. Now it is validated. Next, finish. Okay, so now we are configuring standard secondary. So here records we should not create manually. So once you created the standard secondary, like in the DHCP server we discussed, scope is very important. So went to the DC, from there replicate. So same way here in DNS records are important. So we should not manually create it in the backup DNS server. So after creating the standard secondary forward lookup zone for the record, where it is created in the master DNS. So come to the master DNS server system 1 for Yahoo. These are the records. So it should replicate or it should be transferred. How? Select the yahoo.com in system 1. Right click, properties. Select the yahoo.com in DC machine, system 1. Come to the system 1 to send this record which we have created in master. Select this yahoo.com, right click, properties. Now go to the zone transfer. Now only to any server, no, only to the following server, third option. So transfer this record to the following server. Which one? Edit, right here the IP secondary. So we are now in system 1. System 2 we have created the standard secondary forward lookup zones, but records should be replicated. For the records, I came to the DC machine, select the yahoo.com, right click, properties, zone transfer. Then here we have to select here what. So one more time I'm showing, right click on yahoo.com, go to the properties, zone transfer, then to any following server, edit. Now here we have to write secondary IP. Click on that, it should be appearing blue, secondary IP. Secondary IP is what? 10.2. And then validate. Okay. One more time I'm showing you. Just multiple time I'm showing you. Right click, properties, zone transfer, only to the following server, so that you can remember it easily. I'm showing third time now. Edit. Now go to this here, click here. It should be showing blue color. Write the where this record should be replicated on our backup server. Backup server is configured on 10.2. Click on validated. Over. Apply. Okay, done. Now this record should be coming here to the member server. Just refresh it. So here, just refresh here, it should come. It came. In your case, if it is not coming, what is the troubleshoot is there? If after refresh also it is not coming means in the member server, you go to the tools, go to the services. If it is records are not coming, go to the tools, then open the services. Now select here any one service, just on the keyboard type it DNS. So here select the DNS server, right click, all task, restart. So DNS server service get restart. DNS client, all task restart. Now, after that, you can just refresh. The record should come. See, this is standard. Secondary record came, yes. So did I created the record in the system 2? Whatever records was there in system 1. Transferred, no. Replicated, no. It came, yes. So say exactly same is there. So if the DC get failed, the member server provide the same service. That's why we are maintaining the backup server. Okay. Now I'll show you reverse lookup zone, standard secondary reverse lookup zone. After that, we will have a break. Select the reverse lookup zone, right click, new zone, next. Select here standard secondary because we are creating a standard secondary reverse lookup zone. Next, IP version 4, next, network ID. Reverse lookup zone. Just give the network ID 10.0.0. Then after giving this here master IP, now we are here in system 2 creating the standard secondary reverse lookup zone. So master IP, what is the master IP? 10.1, system 1. After that, validate. Next, finish. Reverse lookup zone is created. So any record is there? No. So we have to transfer. Go to the master DNS server. Now this time, this record should be replicated. Transferred. Select the reverse lookup zone. Right click reverse lookup zone. Under reverse lookup zone, what is the reverse lookup you have created? Select that. Right click properties. Our 10 dot network that you select. Right click property zone transfer. So select here the third option. Only to the following server. Edit. Now go to the standard secondary IP. So record should be sending now. The records are created in the master node. So this master record I'm sending now to the backup server. Backup server IP is here. Click on this, it should appear blue. So what is the IP of the click on validated. Okay. Apply. Okay. Now this record should come here. So it not came. Refresh it. It still not came means now it did not came after refresh. So in the system 2, open the server manager console, go to the tools, click on services, select any service on the keyboard type DNS. So go to the DNS server, right click, all task restart. Now go to the client, DNS client, all task restart. Now 100% the record will come. Go to this. Now refresh, the record will come. 1 or 2 times you refresh. Came. So did I created any records in the backup server? We should not create. It should come. Then only it is correct. So whatever is there in the master, same will come. So if the master get failed, do you get any problem in the failover? No. So this is the practical. So how many practicals over? Two main practicals over. So how many practicals left out for today? Yes, tell me how many practicals left out for today? Four more. So those fours are not so big. They are small practicals. So in our half an hour time, we can do it, no problem. So our next topic will be after the break. Standard primary is over. Standard secondary is over. Stub zone, small practical. Then active integrated primary zone, small practicals. Then after that, two more small practical, forward and conditional forward. So shall we have a break now? Shall we have a break? I think everybody will say yes because we have more than 1 hour. Yes. So just have a nice tea or coffee, get relaxed. After 5 minutes,
Done.
after 5 minutes, we'll continue. Okay. I'm keeping my mic in mute position. Okay, so shall we continue now? Yes, shall we continue? Okay, now we'll discuss about stub zone. So stub zone is called something like a index. So suppose you have a textbook. In that there are so many topics. You want to read one particular topic. So will you go to that topic by turning the page one by one? No. So what we will do? We'll go to the index. We'll see the topic is in which page. Then we'll go to that page. So same way, when there are many DNS server, you want to locate or find one particular DNS, then we need to create a stub zone. So a stub zone is something like a index. So it will locate the DNS server using the partial record. So is also called as stub zone is also called as index zone. Why? Because it contains the backup server records will be there. In master, we can modify it because it will have read write option. In the backup server, the records will have only read option. We cannot modify it. But in the stub zone, it contain only partial record. Only two records will be there. There will be no SO. There will be only two record, SO and NS, but there will be no address record or alias record or pointer record. But still, it will locate it using this partial record. So that's why it is called as an index. So here, stub zone contain only partial record, not full record, and only which partial record it contain? SO NS. It doesn't contain host or alias record or PTR, but still it will locate the main DNS server using this partial record. So that's why stub zone is also called as index zone. So index zone or stub zone contain partial record. Using that partial record, it can locate the DNS server. So it is acting like an index. That's why it is called index zone. So this has to be configured in system 2. That is our member server. Okay. So let me show you this practical. So for this we have to again create in the DC machine new forward lookup zone. So to stub zone, go to the DC machine, create one new standard primary. Now don't create don't create any reverse lookup. Just create forward lookup. Standard primary forward lookup zone with host and alias record, like with the name Gmail in system 1. Now go to the system 2. IP address and preferred DNS should be there. Remove the alternate DNS site. Now go to the DNS from the tools. Select this. Right click on your forward lookup zone. Now select stub zone with the same gmail.com, because in master the name is Gmail. So here also Gmail. You can use any name, but that name and this name should be matched. So here it will contain only two records, but it will communicate. There is no host record. There is no host or address record, and there is no partial record. This alias record, but still using this partial record. Partial means incomplete. Only few records it will have. It doesn't contain all the records. A stub zone, like it doesn't contain host record or alias record, but still it will communicate using this partial record. That's why it is called as a stub zone. Acts like a index. Okay, now I'll show you. You will get a clarity. So first, you should go to your DC machine. First, go to your DC machine. Now here, just create one standard primary forward lookup zone. In DC machine means system 1. New standard forward lookup zone. Select a new zone under forward lookup zone. Next, here just select primary, uncheck the last option. Just select the first option. Last option uncheck. Now here, give some new name. Already we have Yahoo. So apart from Yahoo, you can give any other name. So I used here gmail.com. Select here, next, allow both secure and non-secure. Next, finish. Over. Now here you can see, sorry, this is your Yahoo. This is your Yahoo, this is your Gmail. So by default, when we create any new standard primary forward lookup zone, how many records it will show? Only two records in standard primary. Now create two more record in the DC machine. So first create host record. So this is created in which machine? You can see the machine name sys1. In sys1, what is the IP 10.1? So host record is created. This we have to create in the master DNS server. Okay, done. Now create the alias record. So the master will have full records, alias record with what name? www. For original name sys1. So we'll hide our original system name. We will hide with this alias name. Alias name for the website always, or for fully qualified domain name always www. Domain name remains same. Only system name we will hide. Over alias record is created. This is created as a fast master DNS server. In master DNS server, we have created standard primary forward lookup zone with host and alias record. In master, go to the member server. Now here, this is our standard secondary. See here. So it has a record. So can we modify this? No. See here, you cannot modify. It will have read only option. Standard secondary. Now, first thing what you have to do here, go to the network properties, remove the alternate DNS IP in system 2 for stub zone. So there is no link with the system 1. Still it will communicate. That is what we have to show. Or that is what we have to prove. Now IP address and preferred DNS in system 2 should be same as system 1, but alternate DNS I am removing. Over. Don't remove anything in system 1, just in system 2. Now create the stub zone. So for that, go to the server manager console, open the DNS service with the help of the tools. Now create a standard stub zone. So for that, select the forward lookup zone, right click next zone. Now here select only stub zone. So already we created secondary zone. This is your secondary zone. Now we are creating a stub zone. Next, Gmail. Next. Now here master. Right. Then validate. Next. Finish. So now this is your stub zone created with the same Gmail name. So here I created in the master a new domain with what name? Gmail. So my stub zone also should be created with same name, but here it will contain default 2 records. So we don't have to transfer the record, just 2 records. So still it will communicate with this new domain. See here. So with the help of this partial record, it will can find or locate and communicate with the locate the main DNS server and communicate with the domain. See here, it's communicating. Even though alternate DNS also have removed, even though it is not having any host record. What is the most important record in Power Lookup Zone? Host record, alias record. It is there? No. There is no link with the 10.1, but still it is communicating. So stub zone using this partial record, locate the DNS server, main DNS server. I hope you understood this practical. Yes, have you understood everyone? No one replied. Yes, have you understood? Finally, Pranav returned. Very nice. So can I go to the next practical then? Can I go to the next practical? That is the fourth one, active directly integrated primary zone. Okay, now we'll go to the fourth practical. So remember this. So today we have done standard primary, standard secondary, stub zone. Now fourth one is active directly. The name should be active directly integrated primary zone. So I'll write it in short again so that you will get a clear idea. So active directory, first standard primary means in simple word, you remember this as a master DNS server, which should be created in our system one, that is a DC. This practical should be done there. Then standard secondary, this is your backup DNS server, which should be done in the system two member server. Stub zone, it's called as a index zone. So since we are doing too many practicals today, because the session is like that, day before yesterday complete theory, today complete practical. So to avoid the confusion, I'm writing this. Now the fourth practical. So this is your first DNS, second DNS, third. This is the fourth. So the complete name, it should be Active Directory Integrated Primary Zone. So the fourth one is Active Directory Integrated Primary Zone. So this is will be created by default. It will be present in system one DC. So Active Directory Integrated Primary Zone created by default. This we don't have to create. It is created by default in DC. This is created by default in DC. When we configure DC, so this will be created by default in the DC when we configure the DC. So this Active Directory Integrated Primary Zone, it contains SRV record. It contains SRV records. So if our SRV records, which are very important, got corrupted or somebody deleted it, so we can again create the Active Directory Integrated Primary Zone. So again, service record will be created. So this fourth practical contains Active Directory Integrated Primary Zone with service record. Already it is there. So this practical we have to do in the case if somebody delete or service records get corrupted or somebody delete it. In that scenario, we have to create it. So I'll show you how to create the Active Directory Integrated Primary Zone, which in turn creates the service records. Okay. So this is the conclusion. So please remember this. So what are the service records? Service records are used when domain controller need to replicate the data. So service records are very important. Why? Because when the domain controller need to replicate the data, service record has to be present. Or with the help of the service record, the domain controller replicate the data. Then with the help of the service record, client able to search the Active Directory. With the help of the service record, user can change their password. With the help of the service record, administrator can modify the Active Directory. So that's why service records are very useful. So if somebody delete the service records or it got corrupted, how to create the Active Directory Integrated Primary Zone, that we will see now, which in turn creates again the service record. So if somebody deletes the service record or service record got corrupted, how to create the again service record? For that we need to create again the Active Directory Integrated Primary Zone, which in turn creates the service record. So that I'll show you now. Okay. So can I start with the practical? Can I start with the practical? Okay, so now we will see how to create the Active Directory, Active Directory integrated primary zone, which in turn creates the service record. Okay, let's see that. So for that, already our service records are there. So we have to go to the DNS in DC machine, remove the your Active Directory uh, integrated primary zone, then service record will get deleted. So again, you can create it. How to create, I'll show you. So again, the service records will be created. So with this four practical will be over, one, two small practicals will be there, forwarder and conditional forward. With that, our today's session will be completed. Okay. Now let's do it, the practical. Now here, if you go to your DNS service, my domain is created with what name? Zoom.com. So if you go to the DNS system one, to your domain name, these yellow icons are your service records. So which is created by default. So suppose some of these records got corrupted or somebody deleted. How to create it again? The service record, we have to create for that Active Directory integrated primary zone. So how to create the Active Directory integrated primary zone? I'll show you. For that, we need to go to the DNS, go to our system name, select our domain name, then select our domain name and delete. Delete. So all the service records will be deleted. See here. All the service record got deleted. So how to create again? So select the forward lookup zone. In system one DC machine, we have to do this practice. Select the forward lookup zone, right click next, new zone, then next. Now here we have to select first and fourth option. If you select only first option, it is primary. Second option, if you select only standard secondary. Third option, if you select stub zone. But if you select the first and fourth option, first and second option you cannot select. You can select only one. Either 1 or 4, either 3 or 4 or 2 or 4. But you cannot select, actually you cannot select here 2 and 4 also. So you have to select 1 and 4. By default it is there. So this is nothing but you can read like this. Active Directory integrated primary zone. So when you want to create just a primary, select first option. Just a secondary, primary means master DNS. Just secondary means backup DNS server. Just a third means stub zone. If you select first and fourth option, it will be Active Directory integrated primary zone. So select here first and fourth option. Next, your domain name. So you created the domain with what name? Same name you have to give. Otherwise, a lot of complication will come. So in my case, my domain name was zoom.com. So same name I have given. Now select here, allow both secure and non-secure update. Next, finish. Oh, Active Directory integrated primary zone again your service records got created. So I hope you understood this simple practical. Yes, is it clear? Just select your domain name in DNS, delete it. Again, select the forward lookup zone, new zone, select first and fourth option, next, select your domain name, next, allow both, secure or non, finish, records will be created. Okay, is it clear? Yes, please. Is it clear to everyone? Up to this four practicals clear? Yes, I'm audible. Okay. So did you able to understood all of you these four practicals? If you understood, we'll go to the last two practicals, forwarders and conditional forwarders. Okay, fine. Now the last slide. Now you have to remember forwarders. First, forwarders. Forwarder means it is also a DNS server. As the name indicates, it is a DNS server which will forward the request to the other DNS server to resolve the client request. So forwarder is a DNS server which is designated or designed to resolve the user's request, to resolve the request by forwarding the user's or client request to the other DNS server. So DNS forwarder is a DNS server designated to resolve external DNS name by forwarding the request to other DNS server. That's why it got the name forwarder. So how it will resolve the name? By forwarding it to the other DNS server. By forwarding the request of the users. By forwarding the request to resolve the request to other DNS server. So this is called forwarders. Now here you remember when we browse any website, first it will go to our ISP local DNS server. So the ISP DNS server, they will, what it will do, it will forward the request. So they will configure which type of DNS server forwarder. So it will forward the request first to root. From there, it will take the IP of the top level domain. From then it will forward the request to top level domain. From there, it will take the IP of second level to resolve the user request. So this is called forwarder. So forwarder is a DNS server which is designated or designed to resolve the user request by forwarding to the other DNS server. So this is called forwarder. So how to configure the forwarder DNS server, we will see practically. First understand this. Clear concept? So in this, it will forward the request to other DNS server to resolve the user request. Now conditional forwarder means opposite. So here, as the name indicates, so the conditional forwarder is also a DNS server which will forward the request to a particular DNS server, not to the other. So whose name is given, to that only it will forward, not to the other DNS server. So as the name indicates, conditional forwarder DNS server is one which will forward the request to a specific or particular domain only. Whose name is given, to that only it will forward, not to the other domain. So this is called conditional forwarder. So in conditional forwarder DNS server, whose domain name you have given, to that only it will forward, not to the other. Whereas the forwarder will forward to all. Whereas the conditional forwarder will forward to only particular one whose name you have given, to that only it will forward. So I think you are getting this, not a problem. I'll start the practical. It's a very simple practical. So can I start the practical? Concept is clear. Forwarders and conditional forwarder. As the name indicates, conditional forwarder will forward the request to only to a particular domain whose name you have given, not to the other. Whereas the forwarder will forward to all DNS servers till it resolve the request. It will forward to all. It will forward to only one. That is the difference. Okay. Can we start the practical? Yes, can I start? Okay. Okay. So with this, we have done with the theory part. Now last two practicals. So for that, what you have to do, first go to the DNS, your master DNS. Create, you can delete and create again, or you can create freshly. So better you create freshly. Better you create freshly. So you go to the DNS, main DNS, master DNS, create again standard primary forward lookup zone. So how many you have to create? 2 forward lookup zones with host and alias record. No need of reverse lookup. Mostly we use only forward lookup zone. We will not use reverse, but we should have the idea. That's why I shown you reverse also first time. So now just create, go to the system one, select the forward lookup zone, right click, new zone. Next, select only here first option, uncheck the last option, only standard primary. Next, here you have to give some name, new name, like I'm giving unix.com. Already we have Yahoo and Gmail. Now I'm taking Unix. Next, select here allow both. Select here allow both, secure and non-secure. Next, finish. So it will have two records, two more you have to create. Select right click, new host. So this we are creating in which machine? System one. You can see the name here. And whose IP is 10.1. So host record will convert system name into system IP. So we need to hide our system name with alias record. So what is the alias record we use generally? www to hide our original name. Original name in my case is sys1. Domain name remains same. Over. So one domain is created. Exactly same way you create one more domain. Again repetition. Power lookup zone, new zone. Next. Select here only primary and set the last option. Next. Here the name. I'm using the name now linux.com. One was Unix. Now other I've taken. You can use any name, your choice. Select here, allow both secure and non-secure. Finish. Now it will also have two records. Two more you create. Host record. Again, this is created where? In system one. Same system name, same system IP. Host record is created. Now create the alias record. Create the alias record. Alias record will be www in place of sys1. Domain name remains same. So our two new forward lookup zone with host and alias record is created. Now go to the system 2, that is member server. First we will do conditional forwarder. So first we will do conditional forwarder. Okay. Now first we will configure the conditional forwarder. First conditional forwarder. How to configure, I'll show you. 1 minute. So go to the DNS in member server or system 2. Go to the DNS. Now, can you see here conditional forwarder under system 2? Okay, first select the conditional forwarder, right click, new conditional forwarder. So here, just now we have created how many new domain? Two new domain, Linux and Unix. So you write only one name. Don't write both the name, only write one name. Either you write Unix or Linux. So I'm writing Unix name. So this Unix is created where? In my master. Master IP is what? 10.1. We are in 10.2 now, system 2. So write down 10.1 IP. After writing, compulsory click on validated. Over. Conditional forwarder is created. So just in the conditional forward, one new name you give. Now go to the command prompt. Now ping to the, my battery got low, 1 second. So now here you can just ping to www.unix.com. It should communicate. It is communicating, but it should not communicate with the, Linux. So I created, in which machine I created the Unix, in same machine I created Linux also. Yes. See here, it will not communicate with Linux. So in conditional forwarder, whose name you have given, to that only it will communicate, not with the others. Now we will do the forwarder. Forwarder means it will forward to all without any condition. Now simply make it forwarders. So to make it forwarder, select your system name. Here forwarder will not be there. So select your system name, right click properties, right click properties. So here you will have forwarder. So select the forwarder, select the right click system, select the system name, right click properties, go to the forwarder tab, edit. Here you write the IP address. Just write IP address where all your domains are there. In our case, in 10.1. Over. No need of any name. So it will forward with, it will communicate with all. It will forward with all. So whatever domain is created in 10.1, it will forward with all or communicate with all without any condition. This is your forward. So you have to wait. It is validating. Okay. Apply. Okay. Now check the result. Now it will communicate with all. It will forward the request to all. It will communicating with Unix. It will communicate with Linux. It will communicate with Yahoo. It will communicate with Gmail without any condition. Whatever domains are there in that, it will communicate. So this is called forwarder. It will forward with all, communicate with all. Okay. So with this, we have done with today's session. So that's it for today. I hope you understood the session. Okay. So before I close this session, if you have any question, any doubt, please tell me. Yes, any doubt, any questions, anyone? Yes, any doubt, any questions, anyone? Or can I close this session? Okay, I'm closing this session. See you tomorrow. Thank you, everyone.